Well, hello and good morning to all of you. Thank you for being here. My name is Danny Lewis, and I am a celebrant. It is my distinct honor to officiate today's ceremony where we celebrate the life of Fred Finney. Now, my friendship with Fred began in 1982, so we've known each other a long time, over 40 years. We were roommates in a household in Culver City on Globe Avenue, and it was an amazing household. I see Douglas Ragland, that was one of our 7 roommates there. Michael Cottrell was one. Where are you, Michael? Michael was one of our 7 roommates. That was a beautiful experience. What it taught me as a young adult is what authentic, deep, abiding friendship is about, heart-centered friendship. It was a beautiful time, and it created a treasure trove of memories that I'll always cherish. And I particularly remember the connections with Fred that were just sweet and gentle and easy. To all of you who came here today, from near or far, some of you traveled quite a distance. I know my wife Debbie and I came here all the way from North Carolina. That's how much it means to me to be officiating today. So, however far you came, and whether you knew Fred as husband, father, uncle, cousin, family member, or friend, thank you for being here to honor and to celebrate his life. The family is truly grateful for your presence today. I'd like to give you an overview of the events that are going to unfold and also cover a few housekeeping issues. At the conclusion of our ceremony, we're going to have a really nice catered shared lunch. To make that happen quickly and efficiently, I'm going to need each of you to carry your chair where you're sitting now outside of the ceremony area. Take it on both sides of the tent, either side is fine, or the back, so that we can bring in tables. And then the tables will be set up, and shortly thereafter, a local caterer in Grass Valley here, I believe they're called Meze, is that it?
Yep.
Is going to be catering a really nice lunch for us. Now, during the ceremony, we're going to have 3 speakers in addition to myself who will be offering life tributes and eulogies, sharing memories, reflections, telling stories. There are others of you here today that might want to share something, a memory, a story, an anecdote. You'll have an opportunity to do that because after the ceremony and during the luncheon, we're going to have what we're calling an open mic, and I'll be walking around with the mic, passing it around, making sure that if you would like to share something, you can. We're going to lead off that section with Gordon Starr, who will perform a special song. And if any of you want to read a poem or sing a song or share a story, you're welcome to. During our ceremony, Randall Harris is also going to sing a very special song he wrote for Freddy. A couple other quick housekeeping things. Please make sure your cell phones are on silent. That would be truly appreciated. I did a wedding recently where a ringtone went off. That was George Thorogood and the Destroyers, bad to the bone. Now that's an iconic riff, Bad to the Bone, but I don't have it working into this ceremony. So you could silence that, that would be great. Put them away. No need to take photos because we have photos that are being captured to memorialize this occasion for a lifetime. And after the ceremony, you can take as many photos as you'd like. Mountain Stream has also asked us to try to use the porta potties at the beginning of the parking lot. They don't want their bathrooms to be overwhelmed. If you need to use the bathroom inside Mountain Stream, you can, but there is a porta potty as well, so keep that in mind. When you have a chance, make sure to visit the memory table back there. Not many people knew Freddy when his hair was as long as it was in that picture. There's some very, very sweet moments. So many of you knew him as Fred. Some of you as Freddy, his childhood name that he brought back when his name evolved later in life to reflect his artistic persona. And so I will be using both names interchangeably today. Regardless of what you call them, we are here today to celebrate the life of a man whom you all loved and to affirm the constancy of our love for Freddy. Sherry Namdeo once said, "What are we but shooting stars, hoping to shine just long enough to make at least one soul believe in the magic?" During Fred's life, he indeed shined long enough for many souls to be touched by his unique magic, by the magic of his presence, the magic of his companionship, and of course his artistic expressions. Today, as we gather for this celebration of life, we are acknowledging the reality of our loss and our grief. Poet Mark Nepo reminds us that one of the greatest truths in life is that if we know love, we're going to know loss. Yet if we don't love, what's the point of being here? Vicki Harrison analogizes grief to an ocean, telling us it comes on waves, ebbing and flowing. Sometimes the water is calm and sometimes it's overwhelming, and all we can do is learn how to swim. And so may our time together allow us to express our grief and loss, to not hold back, and to give voice to our grief, and in so doing, to aid our healing process. Now, very importantly, may we warm the empty spaces in our hearts today and fill them with our loving and happy memories of Freddy, and a bit of laughter too, as we celebrate the life of a man who made an indelible impact on those who were privileged to know him. All of you who are here today had that privilege to know him. And so may we give Freddy a joyful celebration and send-off today. Are you all with me? Let us begin with a prayer. Please soften your eyes, and if you're comfortable, close your eyes. And as I say this prayer, I'd like you to feel all of your love just surrounding Freddy and all of his love surrounding you. Eternal God and Spirit of life and love, we welcome your presence among us. Our hearts are tender today as we gather to remember, honor, and say goodbye to Freddy. We are so grateful for the good life he lived, for the warmth he shared, the lives he touched, and the compassion he showed, not only to people, but to the animals who felt the comfort of his care. His presence was a gift, and it's hard for us to let him go. Though his passing leaves a space that no one else can ever fill, we trust that Freddy has found peace, already embraced by those who went before him, his soul now continuing its journey in love and light. O great Spirit, please carry our love to Freddy and let it be as nourishment for his soul. Be near to us now and help us all find comfort in our memories, healing in our grief, and joy in the enduring legacy he leaves behind. We offer this prayer with love and gratitude, and in the name of all that is and all that is holy, amen. Amen. We're now going to light 3 candles up front here to honor the light of Freddy and to make sacred this moment. The light from these candles will bring Freddy's presence into our gathering and bring his spirit into our gathering as we celebrate his life. This first candle represents our grief. Freddy, the pain of losing you pierces our hearts and souls. This candle for grief represents our loss and grief, and it also represents the profound depth of our love for you. And I would like Freddy's son, Zach, to please light the candle for our grief. The second candle on the far side of the table represents courage. It represents the courage to confront our sorrow, the courage to live our lives to the fullest extent, just as Freddy would want us to. And I would like to ask Zach's life partner, Chelsea, to light our candle for courage. And our middle candle is for the light of love. Freddy, day by day, we cherish the special place reserved in our hearts for you, reserved for all of our love for you and all of your love for us. Freddy, we thank you for the gift that your living brought to us. And I would now like to ask Fred's beloved wife, Mary Good, to light the candle for love. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Chelsea. May the light of all these candles hold Fred's presence in this space today, and may it connect all of us here today in the spirit of this gathering. In times of loss like these, we search for words that can capture the depth of what we feel and the mysteries that surround life and death. Freddy had a deep appreciation for the enduring significance of love, goodness, and the living spirit. This poem, The Mystery of Life by Robert Ingersoll, speaks beautifully to the notion that there is something eternal and significant in each one of us, even beyond the confines of physical form. I will read it to you now. Before the sublime mystery of life and spirit, the mystery of infinite space and endless time, we stand in reverent awe. For this much we know. We are at least one phase of the immortality of life. The mighty stream of life flows on, and in this stream we too flow on. Not lost, but each of us eternally significant. Yes, physical life may be defeated, but life goes on. Character survives. Goodness lives. And love is immortal. Mary Oliver, in her poem, The Summer Day, poses an important question for all of us, all of humanity. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? At its heart, I believe this poem is asking each of us to wake up and to live our lives in alignment with what truly matters to each of us. When we think of Fred Finney, we think of a man who answered Mary Oliver's calling by the way he lived his life. We think of a man who was a gentle spirit with an artist's soul and passion to fully express his creative nature. We think of a man who was an amazing person, but who was understated in his personality, who was a spiritual seeker with a calming presence, who was meticulous in his work, but who could be disorganized with his paperwork, who was a deep soul, who could tell a good story, who was always searching for the perfect flourless chocolate cake. He was a man who loved to share his insights, who loved both his work and his hobbies. And oh, how he loved photography, capturing the aurora borealis north of the Arctic Circle in Alaska, shooting the night sky in Death Valley in Yosemite, capturing the Milky Way in the ghost town of Bodie, capturing Point Zabriskie in Death Valley. Freddy loved nature, gardening, and witnessing the neon fish and the sea turtles while snorkeling. He loved golf. He loved his home life, good wine, the LA Dodgers, and in recent years, working around and studying a wide variety of medicinal mushrooms. Freddy was a talented man who lived his life with passion and optimism, tenacity and determination. He loved life, he loved people, he loved his wife Mary, his children, Marika and Zach, his friends. He loved his cats, Teriyaki, Rasta, Midnight, and a guinea pig named Merlin. Very importantly, when we think of Freddy, we think of a man who lived all the days of his life, holding nothing back. His optimism was unrelenting. Even when death was knocking at his door, he never stopped believing that he would be healed. He never stopped believing in the possibilities that lay before him. Fred Finney was born in 1955 in Martinsville, Virginia, in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and he grew up a Southern boy. His dad, Stanford, was Virginian. His mom, Lou, from South Carolina. He had two older siblings, Catherine Douglas and Stan Jr. Because they were much older than him, he spent a lot of time on his own and playing pool with kids in the neighborhood, which apparently he was pretty good at. One thing that Freddy and his parents and his siblings, Catherine Douglas and Stan Jr., really looked forward to every year was the annual family tradition where they gathered for a week with all the aunts and uncles and cousins on the mother's side at Cherry Grove Beach in South Carolina. And every year that was a special, memorable occasion where life was easy and safe and warm and fun. As a boy, Freddy developed what would become a lifelong passion for baseball. You know that, Zach. And he was so proud to have hit a league-leading 7 home runs in Little League at age 12. The same year he made the All-Star team. Fred also liked talking about his highest bowling score, 264 at age 13. By comparison, I was in a bowling league for 4 years and my high score was 187. So. In the 8th grade, Freddy broadened his horizons beyond sports and he learned to play saxophone and he got into a rock and roll band. where he was kind of like the Clarence Clemens of the rock and roll band. And later in life, he would develop a passion for breakthrough musical artists like Jimi Hendrix and John Coltrane and Miles Davis. During his high school years, he spent years 10 through grades 10 through 12. Fred attended an all-boys boarding school, Macaulay School in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And that's when he had the good fortune of meeting Mr. Bailey as his teacher, who taught him poetry. But more importantly, Mr. Bailey taught the young men about life. And he made an impact on Freddy that would help shape his thinking and his way of looking at the world. Later in life, Freddy would be inspired by people who lived the hero's journey, who faced great challenges and overcame insurmountable odds and achieved great things. One of his personal heroes was the Dalai Lama, with whom Freddy experienced a powerful personal encounter in 1997. Freddy was at UCLA to record the Dalai Lama's talk. And as His Holiness walked to the stage, he passed in front of the recording studio 3 feet away. He looked directly at Freddy, made eye contact, and bowed to him. Freddy would later say that his heart was so engulfed with so much light that it created a sunburn over his whole body. Freddy's other heroes were St. Francis of Assisi, baseball legend Jackie Robinson, he loved baseball, and his work buddy Tuvaro, who escaped the killing fields of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia as a child and went on to become a brilliant engineer as an adult. So after high school, Fred enrolled in the University of Virginia, getting a degree in economics in 1977. And while Fred understood economic theory and practice, he had an artist's heart. And that would dictate how he would live much of his life. At around the age of 20, while still in college, he had the beginning stages of a spiritual awakening. He studied the teachings of Don Juan through Carlos Castaneda's books. And during his senior year, he discovered transcendental meditation, crediting his twice daily practice with helping him to focus and to live his life more peacefully. For Freddy, TM was a true breakthrough, and he would say it was like getting high without smoking pot. Now, at the time, when he shared all this with his friends, none of them could relate to what he was talking about. But after college, he would form bonds with new friends who understood exactly what he was talking about. Entering his post-college years, Fred went through a period of existential crisis. He was questioning his purpose, his place in the world. He moved back home and was depressed for a while. His mom, recognizing this, found and encouraged him to take a month-long class out of state called Behind the Scenes in Hollywood. And she even let him borrow her car to drive all the way across the country to attend. And that experience, coupled with his spiritual aspirations, stirred within his soul a desire. Once he got back to Virginia, it stirred with him a desire to go west, young man. And after returning home to Virginia, he drove once again across the country, this time landing in Eugene, Oregon, staying in the very frat house used in the John Belushi movie Animal House. It was the summer of 1978, and Freddy rented a room for the entire summer for $50. Now, needless to say, the accommodations were not 5-star. But Freddy was happy to be there. And we can only speculate that the summer of 78 that young Fred spent in that frat house would have provided more than ample material for a worthy sequel to Animal House. After that summer, he lived on a communal farm. He worked at a juice bar, and he started photography. He began a new life far removed from the foothills of southern Appalachia. In late 1982, Fred started a video recording business called Online Productions in Los Angeles, doing corporate work, music videos, assisting on news and other productions, doing weddings, bar mitzvahs. He later worked for conference recording companies, traveling to do on-site audio recording. In 2001, he landed a job at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, thanks to his good friend, Ken Cooper, who he had worked with previously for another company. Freddy eventually became full-time in their media department, overseeing the patient TV system. Now, he worked there for 18 years until retiring. And there's a little irony in this because Freddy had wanted the freedom of being freelance, and yet he loved that Cedars job, and he thrived there as being part of a team. Now, that man he worked with all those years, Ken Cooper, is here today, and he will now share a little about his friendship with Freddy, forged ever more deeply over all those years at Cedars-Sinai. Ken?
Tissues with me. Get that up there closer. Like I said. Can you all hear me? Check, check, check.
Nope. No.
Button on the side. Okay. I don't have my glasses on. Check, check, check.
There we go.
And Fred and I were AV geeks together, so here we are. I will try to get through this as best I can. Thank you all for letting me share my experience with Fred. Truly one of the kindest, gentlest souls I've ever met. And it's moving to be around all these people that loved him as much as I do. And thank you for letting me share my experience. So Fred and I crossed paths years ago, pushing probably close to 30 in the media arts business, and we worked together in the aforementioned projects that Danny's been talking about. And thank you, Danny. That was absolutely beautiful, what you said about Fred. So just wanted to give a thanks for that. So from the get-go, it was pretty clear that he and I were kindred spirits, basically tech geeks to the core. And so over the years and after countless projects, we did both land at Cedars-Sinai Hospital. I got there a little bit before him, and I still work there today. And Fred was just more than a work colleague. He became a lifelong friend. And even after retirement, he and Mary made regular trips back to Los Angeles to celebrate 4th of July and spring in the desert with my wife Sarah and me. And Mary and Fred, of course, if you're a tech geek like I am and you like quantum physics, I always called them entangled particles. Because it seemed no matter where each of them were, one of them would know something about the other one instantly when it happened. They were just such a beautiful couple. So let me share an interesting thing about the Freddy thing. Because when I first met Fred, I knew him for all the years when I first met him as Fred. One day, and keep in mind too, that the fact that I worked with Fred meant that I got to spend 5 days a week, 8 hours a day with him. So we got to be very, very close. But one day we were headed to lunch and I said, "Are you ready, Fred?" And he stopped and he gives me this look, and it's probably one of the most sincere looks I've ever seen out of Fred. And he looked at me and he said, "Did you just say, 'Are you ready, Freddy?'" Well, thankfully I had not, because he made it very clear at that point that he was not a Freddy. So off we went, and of course, years later when I looked on Facebook and I see Freddy Finney, I did the brotherly thing and I called him out on it. I said, "Fred, all these years ago, I'm still traumatized from that look you gave me about this Freddy thing." So, in his classic humble Fred fashion, he just smiled and said, "Ken, I've had a change of policy." And so for that day, he became Freddy to me too. So Danny also mentioned Fred's talents, which I shared a few of them. Love for photography especially, and we spent just countless hours going over photography, but his photos of the night sky and just how he threw himself into mastering that craft was just something I always admired about Fred. We also shared a love of gardening, each of us owning our own little urban farm. And so when he moved up here to Grass Valley, we would compare notes on our crops and our watering systems. He would be sending me seeds to try in my garden. Feeding schedules, you name it. And then, of course, came the mushrooms. And Freddy dove into mycology with his signature enthusiasm, to say the least. So he started cultivating mushrooms at home, and I got a few of his creations that were his mushroom creations, which I got these things that look like kind of uncooked loaves of bread in plastic bags. And he would deliver them to me, and he would say, just poke holes in these things, keep them in the fridge, and you'll get mushrooms. And sure enough, we got mushrooms. And so he was just forever so enthusiastic about everything he ever did. And especially for his tech part. So back to our tech geek thing a little bit, we would spend also hours just talking about the latest audio and video tech that was coming out, sharing ideas, dreaming up future projects. It's just creativity just knew no bounds in so many different areas of creativity. And then his calming spirit always shined through, even in the most hectic of times. So those productions that Danny mentioned earlier, we found ourselves in some very tense moments together, and Fred was just always the guy that you could look to and take a breath with and move on. So he was more than a friend. He was a confidant. He was a brother from another mother, someone I'm honored to call a soul friend, if there is such a thing. I see his presence every day. I've got his galaxy photos on the wall in our home. I still find his handwriting around work, in these little places. And I'll speak to you directly, Fred. You are truly one of a kind. I wish we had more time with you. But your memory will always live on. Love and light in your next journey, and bon voyage, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you. One of Freddy's most cherished roles in life was being a dad. I had the chance to spend a couple hours with Zach and learn about their relationship, the beautiful bond that they shared. And what Zach told me was very moving. He said to me, if I could talk to my dad just one more time, I would tell him how grateful I am for the time we spent together and for the man he raised me to be. I would thank him for everything he taught me, especially how to appreciate the small things in life and how to love and respect nature, whether we were hiking or spending time out on the golf course. Zach went on to share that he's now an arborist, a path that began with vegetation management, and that his love for the outdoors was shaped in no small part by the appreciation for the natural world that both Dad and Mom passed down to him. And here's where life comes full circle. I love when life comes full circle. While working at Davy, a vegetation management company where Zach still works, he met Chelsea, the woman he loves, his life partner. And in that connection, we can see the echo of Freddy's legacy. Not just in Zach's career, but in the life he's building, grounded in love, nature, and gratitude. When I asked Zach about some of his favorite memories with his dad, his face lit up as he talked about the countless Sunday volleyball games they played together in Santa Monica. It became a tradition. Zach and his friends going up against Freddy and his crew, all the old guys, as Zach affectionately called them. Now, at first, the old guys had the upper hand, using what might generously be called wisdom and experience to win their matches. But over time, as Zach and his friends got better, the tide started to turn. And let's just say, the victories became a little sweeter and probably a little louder as well. Zach also spoke about the many, many rounds of golf he played with his dad over the past decade. They were both what you would call enthusiastic amateurs. Neither headed to the PGA, but that didn't matter. They had the same skill level, which made their games competitive. A few small wagers were often thrown in just to raise the stakes, the prizes being bragging rights, coffee money, maybe lunch. But those games were never just about the scorecard. They were sacred time, long walks and quiet conversations, just the two of them out in the open air, talking about life. Topics range from the Dodgers and how they were doing, to the stock market, and solving everyday problems, to pondering the big picture stuff. This is something else Zach told me. He said, "My dad got me into baseball. I played both soccer and baseball, and eventually I chose baseball. We went to a lot of Dodger games together. Even after I moved up to Northern California, we'd catch them when they played the Giants in San Francisco. And when we couldn't be there in person, we often texted about the games. And when the Dodgers won the World Series last year, it was a big moment for us." When I asked Zach what he thought his dad's greatest virtues were, he didn't hesitate. He said, "My dad was loving and compassionate. He wasn't afraid to wear his emotions on his sleeve. I considered him one of my closest friends." Then he paused and added, "I'll miss being able to just pick up the phone and call him. Call him for advice. Call him to talk about people and finances and the stock market, and just to talk about life together. And I'll really miss our golf games." I would now like to bring up a very close friend of mine who I've known for over 42 years as well, Randall Harris. You're also a close friend, Katie Bell. After Freddy passed, he composed this song and he dedicates it to Freddy today. Randall?
Good morning. You guys hear me okay?
So don't
There you go. Good morning. Good morning. So great to see everybody here. And, for those that travel far, so wonderful to have you here. Fred and I probably met 45 years ago. We were born 1 month to the day, 70 years ago. And around 1971, Fred and I and another friend of ours, Patricia, had an extraordinary spiritual experience together over a 9-day period. And that experience forged our brotherhood for all of time. And every time we'd see each other, we would just look at each other a certain way that Mary knows. And it's like, yeah, there was just something that happened that was very transformative for us. And so we're very grateful. 2 days after his passing, Mary had us over to the house, and Diane and I spent several hours there, got to meet Chelsea and Zach, and just had a wonderful gathering with some other friends. And I went home that afternoon and picked up this guitar, and most of the song you're about to hear right now was given to me like this. It is a sing-along. Dan, do you have the lyrics for Mary? And Mary, I wanted you to have a set of lyrics and
Sing those.
that's okay. I wanted you to see the words. And I wanted Stan's wife to have a copy too. Mary Claire and her family. So I'm going to just tell you the words to the chorus, and we're going to all sing it together, irrespective if you think you're a singer or not, because rest assured, I'm not a singer. So if I'm not a singer and I have a microphone, you can sing. So the chorus goes like this. Our hearts beat for your heartbeat. Our hearts beat for your heartbeat. Till another day. Till another day. Till another day. We'll remember you by the photographs you've taken, and we'll keep you close and toast some fine old vine. Forever memories of a soul so softly spoken. Our bond is never broken. If we could see through your eyes, we'd see what it's like to be with the angels on their wings. Together our hearts beat with your heartbeat. Our hearts beat for your heartbeat. Till another day. Till another day. Till another day. Till another day. We could across the dark night sky, the galaxies are shining, and with a prescient eye your lens open wide, you were drawn to light, nature's beauty all around us, the love that surrounds us. If we could see through your eyes, we'd see what it's like to be with the angels on their wings. Together our hearts beat for your heartbeat. Our hearts beat for your heartbeat. Till another day. Till another day. Till another day. Till another day. Till another day.
Thanks. Absolutely. Thank you, Randall. Beautiful. Beautiful.
What an amazing moment. Beautiful song. Freddy's feeling it. It's impossible to talk about Freddy's deep love of family without talking about the central person in his life for nearly 40 years, his beloved wife, Mary Good. Mary shared something with me that speaks volumes. She said, quote, "From the beginning of our relationship, I felt safe with Fred. His love changed the trajectory of my life, and my heart thawed under the warm glow of his love." Now, tradition says that two souls who are truly meant to be together are connected by an invisible cord of fate. And no matter where their journeys take them, that invisible cord of fate will eventually bring them back into each other's lives. And when they do find each other again, there's a deep sense of knowing that they have come home. And this, I think, perfectly describes the unique, one-of-a-kind love story of Mary Good and Freddy Finney. The story begins in 1979 when they first meet in Santa Cruz, California, among a community of spiritual seekers. Some of those seekers are in the room today. Were there sparks back then? Not really. Maybe a tiny, tiny flicker. But the real flame doesn't catch until 6 years later in 1985 when they reconnect in Southern California. Mary, at the time, needs a ride to a weekend workshop at the Palomar Observatory in San Diego. And through Mary's friend, Diane Cornwall, she gets paired up with Andrew Oser, who just so happens to already be carpooling with Freddy. Now, here's an interesting wrinkle. When Freddy learns that Mary is joining the ride, he has a brief moment of disappointment. Not because of Mary, nothing about Mary. It's just because he's looking forward to some solid one-on-one bro time with Andrew. But Cupid, the god of love, being the incorrigible meddler that he is, has other plans, and he makes sure that all three are driving together. The three of them end up camping out by a creek that night, and Freddy and Mary stay up very late into the evening, connecting in a way that neither of them would forget. The following week, they have their first official date on May 4th, 1985, exactly 40 years ago today. And that, friends, is chapter 1 of their beautiful love story. When I asked Mary what drew her to Freddy, she said, quote, "He was kind, silly, romantic, insightful. We had an instant bond, unquote. They shared a love of nature, a passion for road trips, and a hunger for spiritual growth. They moved in together in 1986, they married in 1988, and welcomed their son Zach 4 years later. Their shared memories are too many to count, but there are a few. When I was connecting with Barry and talking about all these stories, there's a few that really stand out. Like the time in 1995 when they're living in Topanga Canyon and a torrential atmospheric river floods their access to Topanga Canyon. They're rescued by helicopter. Nationally televised. And not to be outdone by anyone on the ground, Freddy holds up a homemade sign with their address and phone number on it. Just in case the news crew misses it. And here's the thing, that image goes viral long before going viral is a thing. I can only imagine the telemarketing calls that followed. Then there was the time on an Alaskan cruise when they joined a small photography-focused whale watching tour. Freddy came prepared with a special lens ready to capture the majestic breach of a distant whale. Only problem?
It was real close.
The whale didn't get the memo, and the whale swims underneath their boat, surfacing so close to the boat that its tail doesn't even fit within the picture frame. Even the whales like to keep Freddy on his toes. What made their relationship so enduring wasn't just the romance or the shared adventures, it was the way that Freddy and Mary had each other's backs. Even when they didn't see eye to eye. Which, let's be honest, this happens when two strong-minded people love each other for decades. But they never went to bed angry. They learned to compromise, meet in the middle, work through their differences, and they always found their way back to each other in the present moment with love in their hearts. In retirement, they moved to Grass Valley, embraced a new chapter of life. They made new friends and settled into a rhythm of simple joys: gardening, cooking, music, art, travel, mycology. Their love matured like a fine wine, rich, deep, and not soon forgotten. Freddy was a true romantic. He enjoyed holding hands and physical closeness. Many who knew them recognized the inseparable nature of their bond. Here are a few more things that Mary shared with me. She shared, quote, Freddy was curious and embraced many facets of life, finding treasures like abalone shells, discovering new joys in making art, learning programs to edit photos, sharing his telescope with friends and neighbors so they can all view the night sky. We would dance in the kitchen to favorite songs while making dinner. He was a lover of flowers, rainbows, sunsets. He felt things very deeply. He wasn't ashamed to tear up at tender moments or in movies. We partnered in cooking, gardening, journeys to new destinations, swimming in the Yuba, paddleboarding on local lakes, and sharing our photos. His professional, mine smartphone. Even in his final year, as he faced unrelenting weight loss and diminished breath, Freddy kept making new friends, kept dreaming up future travel plans, and he even signed up for a photography workshop in Oregon for this fall 2025. His optimism never left him. His spirit never wavered, and he embraced mindfulness, meditation, and inner stillness ever more deeply. When I asked Mary what she thought she'll miss most about Freddy, here's what she said. His tenderness and thoughtfulness, sharing something he read that moved him, pointing out birds or the sunlight playing across the trees in our backyard, how we'd come home and share how our days had gone with each other, how we collaborated in making decisions and plans, how Freddy enthusiastically recounted every detail of a golf game to me, a non-golfer. So many precious moments we shared. Fred really cherished his friendships. In the last year of life, he was especially close with Katie Bell, who said to me, "We had a friendship that was alive." She finally recalled how much fun he was to have dinner with, telling me he would save up news and say, "I have something to share with you at dinner." Katie will now share with us some of her reflections and memories and what Freddy meant to her.
Okay. How's that? Does that work? You hear me? I think I got the assignment wrong. I thought I was going to sing Bad to the Bone. I've been very worried. I'm going to be reading this. So anyway, it's really beautiful to be here together. So Mary and Freddie have been my friends since 1979, and most of our lives. Since they moved here to the foothills, we have enjoyed many happy times. Their coming to this area was just a super treat for many of us. And my loving friendship with Mary will go on forever. So today, as we celebrate and honor Freddie, I feel the fullness of sorrow in his absence and a bright joy in his presence. His presence is palpable today in my life, and in his absence, we can also feel his presence. Here are a few things I want to remember about him and how he touched my life. Freddie was not a superficial person. He delighted in the deeper conversations. Who are we? Why are we here? Where are we going? His spiritual intelligence was a gift in our conversations. And Freddie, as we've talked about, was a person of deep feeling, especially when it came to the Dodgers, which I also love. And his golf game, his precious family, and the art of living. So much of this has been expressed today. All that curiosity. The biggest lesson I received from Freddie as he walked through his illness and as his body weakened was his obvious zest for living. As he adapted to the limitations of his illness, his eyes would sparkle with new insights and new reflections and what he was planning to do in the coming days. He truly and beautifully and emphatically lived until he died. Very powerful. There is a framed photo, one of his amazing photos of the night sky where I sleep. It is a photo of the Milky Way taken in Death Valley. I look at this stunning image of the heavens every night. I can feel Freddie's wonder in the beauty of the stars. I share in this wonder and in the wonder of this great mystery. I will always miss him. Really miss him today. I brought a small passage of a Mary Oliver poem. The poem reminds me of Freddie and his love for life. When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. May we live fully until we die. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Thank Thank you. Beautiful. Another of Fred's enduring friendships was with Mary Kay Cucharo. Mary Kay relished not only her connection with Fred, but with Fred and Mary as a couple. She shared with me, the energy Fred and Mary co-created as a couple is now palpably missing from my life. Mary Kay will now share some of her reflections and memories. Thank you, Mary Kay.
I need my talk. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being with us today. This has been such a moving ceremony, and I'm really glad for my script because my brain is somewhere else right now. But in 2001, one of the big three pitchers for the Oakland Athletics was struggling. Barry Zito's father introduced him to Ernest Holmes' book, Creative Mind. They spent several days studying the book together, leading Zito to adopt its principles. He credited this experience with transforming his mindset and his baseball performance, resulting in a remarkable turnaround season. So what, might you be asking, does this have to do with Freddy Finney? And I would say on the surface, nothing. But in spirit, everything. Because in 2003, I was sitting in the bleachers of my son's Little League baseball game in Santa Monica. A nice-looking guy sitting next to me reading a Science of Mind journal. Science of Mind, or the Center for Positive Spirituality, is Ernest Holmes' philosophy and the creative mind's theme. This guy next to me was reading an article about how Barry Zito had been spiritually transformed in 2001 and couldn't wait to share it with me. Well, I was a little reluctant because in Los Angeles, if you talked in the day about Science of Mind, people thought you were a Scientologist. So I didn't talk a lot about that, but Fred was enthusiastic. So here in the bleachers on a sunny Saturday morning was a nice man reading this spiritual article in the bleachers of a pretty lively baseball game. So I knew right then and there that we were destined to be friends. And so we became friends. That nice guy was Fred Finney, a man who we are here today to honor and to celebrate and to miss. A man who embodied this positive outlook, this self-transcendence, and the love of life that Zito had discovered in 2001. Unfortunately, he played for the wrong team. We spent many hours together in those bleachers, watching my son Lorenzo and his son, Mary's son, Zach, play ball. These boys, now beautiful young men, were born on the same day, 1 year apart, another sign of our destiny to be friends. Watching our boys play, cheering them on, sharing proud parent moments, laid the foundation of this truly special friendship over the years. Soon, I was introduced to Mary, and our friendship continued to grow and deepen over the past 23 years. I love Fred. He was a dear friend, and I miss him. I miss the couplehood of him and Mary together. They were a couple to be admired for their commitment, for their friendship, and their devotion to what is good in life. As you probably know, Fred was a master videographer and photographer. We've heard a lot about that today. He spent countless hours helping me to create a video montage for my father's 80th birthday. Since my father is Sicilian, Fred thought it was appropriate to provide some good Godfather background music, which my dad really loved. Fred was always generous with his time and with his heart. 1 year for my birthday, he gifted me with a beautiful enlarged photo of the sand dunes that he had taken. He knew that as a marriage and family therapist, I was drawn to hearts, and he had managed to capture a shadow in the dunes in the perfect shape of one. Beautifully framed, it hangs in my house where it will stay as a reminder of his love and his friendship. Fred could always, always see the beauty in nature. For more than a few years, he and Mary joined us each November for a vacation in the Sea Ranch. It's a beautiful location about 3 hours north of San Francisco on the coast. There's nothing to do there but walk along the bluff, look for whales and other marine life, cook, eat, and delight in friendship. Fred was always the first one up, making coffee, a little too early, and manning the binoculars to spot the dolphins off the coast. He was also game for long walks and visits to the iconic chapel there. On one trip, my daughter Vanessa and I went with him on a mushroom hunt. He spent a lot of time taking photos of bright yellow and red fungi. If Fred was interested in something, you can bet that he knew everything there was to know and was intensely interested and fascinated. I received so much from him, from his knowledge and his passion. It's hard to put into words what it means to lose someone like Fred, but the memories live on, vivid and cherished. Fred was a seeker, a loving, kind, generous, good friend. He was always willing to show up. He was deeply relational, talented, passionate, and committed to his family and to all of us, his friends. I chose a poem from Maya Angelou that speaks to me, to the kind of soul that Fred is and the legacy he leaves in each of us. She says, "And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same. They whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed." I miss you, Fred.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Mary Kay's daughter, who she referenced, Vanessa Blow, sent this to her mother and asked if I would read it. So this is a short tribute in loving memory of Fred by Vanessa Blow. Here's what she said. "Fred was a one-of-a-kind soul, a man whose quirky charm and passion for life left an unforgettable mark on those who knew him. With a camera always in hand, he had a gift for capturing the beauty of the world. Both in the great outdoors he loved to explore and in the everyday moments that others might overlook. Fred was a connoisseur of life's simple pleasures, whether enjoying a perfectly crafted mocktail or immersing himself in the soothing rhythms of a sound bath. A formidable pool player, he played with skill and precision, always by the rules, of course, but never without a twinkle in his eyes and a good story to share. His fun-loving spirit and endless trove of tales made him the kind of person that everyone gravitated toward. He was kind, thoughtful, and uniquely himself in every way. His many idiosyncrasies only made him more endearing, a true original in a world that often values conformity. Above all, Fred found joy in movement, walking for miles, embracing the outdoors, and appreciating the world's natural wonders. Fred's presence will be deeply missed, but his spirit lives on in the laughter he shared, the memories he created, and in the beauty that he saw in everything around him. Thank you, Vanessa Blow, for that. Fred was not a perfect man. He had his struggles and shortcomings and anxieties, but he was always working to improve himself, always evolving toward a better version of himself, always aiming to be a beneficial presence, to walk into a space and be a beneficial presence. That's what I'll remember about him. I asked Mary what Freddy taught her most about life, and she said, quote, to wake up every day excited for new challenges, to stay curious, to keep learning, to express deeply a love for life, and to be kind and caring towards everyone. I would now like to invite all of us here today to participate in a responsive reading. I've written a number of lines about Freddy Finney, and after each line I will pause, and I would all of us like to say in unison, we remember you. In the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember you. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember you. When we are weary and in need of resolve and determination, we remember you. When we're capturing a beautiful photo, we remember you. When we're enjoying a perfect flourless chocolate cake, we remember you. When we're snorkeling amidst the neon fish and sea turtles, we remember you. When we're experiencing the wonder of the night sky, we remember you. When we make a birdie in golf, we remember you. When we're taking comfort in the arms of a loved one, we remember you. Yes, we remember you, Freddy. So long as we shall live, you too shall live, for you are a part of us, of all who have known and loved you. As we come to a close of this ceremony, let's remember the cherished moments we shared with Freddy and the lasting impact that they had on our lives. It's natural to feel a deep sense of loss, but we can also find comfort in knowing that the journey does not end here. In the words of Helen Keller, what we have once enjoyed deeply, we can never lose. All that we love deeply becomes a part of us. And so we will miss Freddy, but we will smile when we think of him. I'd like to thank all of you for sharing this time together, for honoring and remembering Freddy, for bringing him into our collective hearts and memories in ways we'll never forget. However Freddy touched you in his lifetime, his greatest legacy might just be his loyalty to those he loved and cared for, his enduring optimism, his incredible determination, and his indomitable spirit. This is how he lived his life. Perhaps we can best keep his legacy alive by practicing these virtues in our own lives. Before we prepare to clear this area and have lunch and have some more tributes and music, there's one more thing that we need to do that feels very fitting for a man like Freddy. Now, we've spent this time remembering Freddy and honoring his story and reflecting on how he lived with kindness, with purpose, and with a deep sense of care for people, for animals, and for the world around him. And so now, as a tribute to our dear Freddy, let us all stand and give him a standing ovation for a life well lived. Take care of everybody around you today. Share your love and let's have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Danny.
That was so beautiful.